Well, as promised last week, I am back with a review of Damian McCarthy's 2024 film, Oddity. Now, if, like me, you loved Caveat, you'll also love, or at least really like Oddity, the more polished younger sibling from director Damian McCarthy, which also kind of Easter eggs a combined Conjuring style universe, which is really neat. So it's interesting. Like I just said, Oddity is a lot more polished. It's a lot more complex, and I personally feel a deeper connection, I would say, more emotionally attached to some of the characters in Oddity than I did Caveat. But you could definitely argue that it's the better film. The crazy thing is, after all of this, I actually still liked Caveat better. However, that is not to say that I didn't enjoy Oddity. Quite the opposite. I thought that Oddity was a fantastic and terrifying movie. Yeah, it's just truly an excellent scary movie. And again, when I say it's a lot more polished than Caveat, I mean it. There's a lot more going on in this film. The scares are more consistent throughout, and it's a lot less of a slow burn than Caveat was. But it still has that kind of uncomfortable creepiness, that creeping sense of dread that Caveat had. So I will finally stop comparing the two movies in 3, 2, 1. So none of this that follows is a spoiler, as it all kind of happens in like the first 5 minutes maybe of the film. We're introduced to Danny, a woman who is renovating a beautiful and creepy old mansion in the middle of the Irish woods. We're introduced to Danny's husband, psychiatrist Dr. Ted, who always seems to somehow be working the night shift at the local halfway house. And we're introduced to Olin, the man on the outside of the door begging for Danny to let him in, as someone has crept into her house. So yeah, Danny is then found brutally murdered. The authorities believe that Olin did it, and he is also found brutally murdered sometime later. Then we're introduced to the real main character, Darcy, Danny's twin sister. Now, Darcy is blind from a run-in with brain cancer before the events of the film. However, she has psychometric abilities, which is so cool to see in a movie. Obviously, a lot of movies have psychics, but the fact that they actually pin down that she has psychometry, the ability to kind of read memories from objects, is so neat and blends perfectly with her job running, of all things, an oddity emporium, which has been in the family for some time. So Darcy is given Olin's glass eye by Dr. Ted, and he invites her out to the house sometime, which Ted obviously didn't think that she would take him up on that night, which just so happened to be the anniversary of her sister's death, which he didn't remember. Oh, by the way, he also has a new live-in girlfriend that is not too keen on his late wife's sister chilling at the place, especially when Ted, guess what, has to go and work the night shift again and leaves his girlfriend alone with Darcy. Well, not really just alone with Darcy. He also leaves her alone with Darcy and the giant wooden man that Darcy has pulled out of the trunk that she brought with her. Now that's absolutely all I'm going to say about the actual plot, because really it's a really fantastic and again very elegant, in my opinion, narrative that just blends the tragedy of Danny's death with the ongoing events of the movie so well. And much like how Caveat's fulcrum point was that eerie wind-up rabbit toy, the wooden man serves as such a similar focus in Oddity. It's truly, I was going to say an amazing prop, but honestly, it's so much more than a prop. It's just this kind of effigy of agony and despair that gives substance to Darcy's grief. And it's really gruesome looking. I mean, there's a moment in the film where Yana, the live-in girlfriend, who is just very displeased about everything, kind of goes over and starts fiddling with the thing, trying to figure out, what it is and what's up with it. And it made me feel very viscerally weirded out. I've got a very high threshold for vaguely occulty things bothering me in movies. It just doesn't do it for me. Everyone has their different things that bother them with horror movies and stuff like that. And that's one of those that I just kind of, it doesn't freak me out much. But in this case, the wooden man and especially the items that were put into his head all had to do with Darcy's grief at losing her sister Danny and her desperation to figure out what happened, and the sheer emotion of that and seeing someone just kind of fiddling with it, it made me feel very skin crawly. I don't really know how else to put it. And yes, there are supernatural elements of this film, and the way that these elements are shown is really, really scary. I feel like before I've mentioned how a lot of the times in horror movies, you can't make a ghost scary most of the time. They're just kind of like a plot device. And so when I find a movie where the ghosts are actually frightening, I'm like, hey, I'm actually like, this is spooky. It's great. And this is also one of those rare movies that jump scared me not once, but twice. I will not be saying what those two times were. You will just have to watch them for yourself. But again, considering that Caveat had the most effective, like the single most effective jump scare that I've ever seen, I don't know what the heck McCarthy is putting in these movies that makes the jump scares like actually effective more than literally every other jump scare I've ever seen. Because there are some films with jump scares that are like, yeah, that got me. But then you just kind of laugh it off and forget about it. But these jump scares aren't just scary in the moment, at least for me. Caveats literally kept me awake at night, and Oddity's two jump scares, they also, like, I was still thinking about them days after watching the movie. You know, I really feel like overall I've watched McCarthy's two current feature length films. His shorts I'm saving for a rainy day, but apparently one actually ties into Oddity. It's How Olin Lost His Eye, and it seems like all of his short films are actually available on his YouTube channel. But again, watching his two feature length films, he just seems like a master of using imagery to tell a story. I would argue that this is genuinely the strongest suit of both Caveat and Oddity. The visuals of the film are just so well crafted, from the set to the props to the staging of the characters within the world, that it really does feel like just kind of popping the roof off of a dollhouse and watching a self-contained little horror show of a world. It's just that immersive. You know, by the way, too, the Caveat Rabbit does make an appearance in Darcy's Oddity shop, back in the back room where she keeps apparently her most super cursed objects. So, you know, hopefully McCarthy is producing a kind of Conjuring style connected universe. I guess we'll get the chance to see, because he is currently working on his next film, Hokum. According to Wikipedia, it involves a writer who travels to Ireland to scatter his parents' ashes and stays in a possibly haunted place. Not a lot to go on off of that, but for any Severance fans in the audience, it's also starring Adam Scott, which is pretty neato. Mentioning Severance, just on the topic of things that creep me out, anybody else really spooked by the appearance of Woe in that kind of nightmare sequence that Irving had? I mean, that was another image that actually was like, ugh, it just, I don't know, kind of creeped me out. Let me know in the comments if you just think I'm a total weenie, or if that also spooked you. But anyway, much like Caveat, if you do not enjoy spooky horror movies, if you think that the creeping sense of dread is overused in film, if you don't like slow burn horror, don't watch Oddity, because you'll be disappointed. But if you do like all that stuff, you know, Oddity is definitely what I also consider kind of a quiet horror movie. And it just left me feeling totally, totally spooked. So, hey, if that's for you, definitely give it a watch. And for today, I am Zelia Edgar, signing off.